Today we're going to talk about a topic that far exceeds cancer's boundaries. That can be true for so many of us. And it's one of those things that I know just none of us struggle with. I'm not even sure why we're making a video about it. Kidding. We're going to talk about self-advocacy and why it's so hard to be your own best self-advocate. When I was initially diagnosed, a couple of my doctors sat me down and said, you are going to be your best advocate. You know your body. You might not come with all the medical training that we have, but you need to tell us what's going on, and you need to advocate for what you think you need, or when something's not right, or if you don't feel right about a situation, or if a medicine's not working. You need to tell us. You need to have open lines of communication, and you need to be your own best self-advocate. And I heard that, but that came along with so much other information at the beginning of a diagnosis, which if you have been diagnosed with cancer or any other serious illness, then you know you are thrown for a loop with just mountains of information on new doctors, on appointments, on medicines, on how your body should feel, on how you shouldn't feel, on when you should call, but what you shouldn't call, but maybe you should go to the it's a lot of stuff. And so really hearing that idea that I needed to be my own best self-advocate took a little while to sink in. I'm going to give you two examples of one time I think with some help, I was a good self-advocate for myself, and another time that I wasn't. Right off the bat, we met with an oncologist, and it became pretty clear that we weren't really on the same page. Now, if you have listened to any of my other videos or you know any of my story, I was pregnant when I was initially diagnosed with cancer. And the first meeting with my oncologist, I can understand that my pregnancy was in the way of how she wanted to treat my cancer. We couldn't do some of the things that you would normally do with my particular type of cancer. And so I listened to her plan for treatment, and it was just so obvious, like I said, that to her, my pregnancy was in the way of treating cancer. Whereas my view and my husband's view was cancer was in the way of a successful pregnancy. We had polar opposite views on what was the most important thing at this time. Now, was she evil or bad or wrong? No, it just didn't match up with what I wanted my treatment to be about, my care to be about, or even that connection that you have with your oncologist. And I would argue, again, any serious illness, you gotta have a good connection relationship with your doctor. I mean, they're your lifeline, but metaphorically speaking and physically speaking. And so my husband and I left this appointment with the oncologist, and we ended up talking with the ombudsman of the center and kind of explaining our concerns. And that's a lot nicer way to put the story. I was in absolute tears at this point because I just felt like, I have no control. This isn't what I want for my treatment. This isn't what I want for my child. And the ombudsman took care of that. So with my husband's help, we were able to be good advocates for me, for my care, and for our unborn child at that point. And so we really put the system to work there. There are people in place if you have an issue with a doctor. And so this wasn't some big emotional blowout. We didn't have some falling out with a doctor. We used the system of the ombudsman, talked with them. They understood what we were saying. And I ended up with a different oncologist that I really felt like we were in lockstep with what we all wanted to accomplish. Okay, fast forward a little bit to being in treatment. I'm sitting there, I'm hooked up getting treatment through my port. And this is the time before COVID. So my husband, Eric, would come with me, and normally we'd play games. That's how we like to pass the time. And I told him, I was like, oh my word, my sinuses are like on fire. But I didn't say anything because I was like, I don't know, like my sinuses are on fire. I mean, it kind of stinks. My face feels like it's burning on the inside, but I didn't think to really say anything. And so I think running this particular drug was about half an hour. And it was like kind of really uncomfortable, but I didn't want to be a whiner. I didn't want to make the nurse come over for the 100th time because they're busy, there are other patients, and just because my face feels like it's on fire, I wasn't necessarily sure that I needed to alert them. So the nurse comes over and we're done. Like, we finished out that particular treatment. I had multiple treatments at the time, so this is just one of the things to check that list off for the day, right, that we were doing. And I told her, I was like, wow, I think that drug like really makes my sinuses burn. She's like, why didn't you say something? And I was like, well, I don't know. It didn't seem like the worst side effect. She's like, yeah, but it's a simple fix. All we have to do is we'll run it slower. So instead of 30 minutes, we'll do like 45 or an hour next time. And you shouldn't have those same sensations. To which I was kind of like, well, good job, Sarah. And don't beat yourself up if you're not your best self-advocate every time. But to me, that was a good example of going, okay, so if something's up, I need to let the people know in charge. I need to tell the nurses. I need to tell the doctors. And it's amazing, and I'm speaking specifically in the cancer world right now. I've been amazed at the number of tips and tricks and helpful things that they have up their sleeve to take care of things like your face feeling like it's burning. Or major issues. If you're not getting along with your doctor, there are the appropriate people there to go talk to. So let me encourage you, whether we're talking cancer or something else, be your own self-advocate and be the best version of that you can. Educate yourself, ask questions. If you have to be that annoying person that asks 20 more questions than maybe your doctor wants, then be that annoying person, because this is your life. You know your body, and you know often what you need. You don't carry an MD, I understand that, and you're probably not a nurse. And if you are, then you have all sorts more information than I did, but you know yourself. And so be that self-advocate, because let's be honest, with what we're talking about here, these are life and death decisions, and you want to be involved in that, and you want to feel heard, and you want to have a good relationship with that doctor that's doing their best to save your life. So even when it's sticky or complicated, be your own self-advocate, because there's no one else often that's going to do it for you. Not that your doctors don't have your best interest in mind, not that the nurses don't, not that your partner doesn't, but you need to be your own self-advocate, and then hopefully other people will help you along the way. It's hard, it's complicated, but let me encourage you to do that.